was in an accident. He's only 24 years old. And he was a goalie for the Blue Jackets, and he's no longer alive. He died. So, my condolences to the friends and family and co-workers, because, major in hockey, the National Hockey League, this guy played for the Blue Jackets, and he died in an accident, 24-year-old guy. So, that is unfortunate. Now, back to the NBA. The teams that are playing, by the way, in the NBA Finals is the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks. So, one of those two teams will be the champions of the world in the NBA. And it is speculated by some analysts, smart ones that is, that the teams, there was a lot of injuries in the NBA this year, and that's because they had a shortened season or a shortened off season. Because of the pandemic, the previous season went long. The season is over in June. The championship is decided before July. Now this season is going long, but they're in the championship series right now, so it'll be over in a week or two. But they didn't have a long off season, so a lot of these guys were kind of tired and worn out, and so that they didn't get a lot of rest, and so that leads to injuries. You're breaking down the body, running up and down the court and jumping and bumping into big, strong guys, so who are purposely trying to knock you on your butt and pretend like they've done nothing. The flopping in the NBA is just out of hand. I mean, if you watch an NBA game and you see some of these guys flop on the floor like they've been shot, it's completely ridiculous. But then on the other hand, a lot of these guys are on the defense. They're trying to sneak a hit in there. They like knee someone or elbow them. Try to, knee you in the nuts or something. Draymond Green is very, he's notorious for hitting people in the nuts and pretending like he's done nothing wrong. A dirty player. So, anyway, some people would say that these teams that ended up in the finals did so because some of the superstars on the other teams were hurt. And that just might be true. These teams might just be in the healthiest playoff teams out there, not necessarily the best, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Anyway, we're gonna take another break, and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
You're listening to a man who's almost intelligent, very close. Welcome back to Probably Offensive. One hell of a show. Yeah.
Welcome back. Something else big that happened in the news in our world here in the U.S., and that is Bill Cosby was released from prison. You all remember Bill Cosby, the very famous comedian that done the Cosby Show back in the 90s. One of the most successful and popular comedians of all time. Went to jail for rape. I do believe it was rape. There was a lot of different accusations against Mr. Cosby, a guy that I used to love, Bill Cosby. His show was okay. I mean, I watched his show, but his show was a sitcom. It was not that there's anything wrong with sitcoms. I'm just saying it was pretty tame, you know what I'm saying? But Bill Cosby used to be a stand-up comedian. And when I was a kid, I used to listen to Bill Cosby cassette tapes, you know what I'm saying? I thought he was pretty funny, and even though he was one of the clean comedians Eddie Murphy used to do an impression of Bill Cosby. And a lot of people done impressions of Bill Cosby. He has a very distinctive voice, Bill Cosby. So Eddie Murphy used to do this bit where he would say Bill Cosby. Thinking about it makes me laugh. He would say Bill Cosby called him and said to him, my son Enos wanted to go to your show, and he says Eddie does these wonderful things. And Bill said, what did he say? And his son, I guess he had memorized some of Eddie Murphy's lines. But anyway, to make a long story short, Eddie Murphy said that Bill Cosby called him and said, you cannot say filth, flarn, filth. He used those exact words. Filth, flarn, filth. And I was like, dude, you're a grown man. I know you don't cuss during your show, but you're a grown man. You do not call another grown man and say the words that are not really words, by the way, in the English language. Filth is a word, but flarn is not. Not that I know of. I've never heard anybody outside of Eddie Murphy use the word flarn to describe what Bill Cosby said to him. Filth, flarn, filth. Here's a man who in later years, as we know now, was accused of raping several women, drugging them, and having sex with them against their knowledge. And he has the nerve. I don't know if he actually raped anybody or not. He was accused of it. He's never admitted that happened. All he says, yes, I did give them some drugs, but these were drugs that I gave them and they accepted. I didn't, put the drugs in their drink. I gave them the drugs and they took the drugs, and then they had some alcohol at my house. I asked them if they wanted alcohol. They agreed to it. And I handed them the drugs. I didn't sneak and put the drugs in their drinks. Now, this is what Bill Cosby claims happened. And by the way, we'll get around to why he was released. But I was just thinking, what this man used to act so high and mighty. Even if it was, let's just say he's telling the truth about not raping anyone, but he gave them drugs, pills, and he also served them alcohol. To me, that's enough. Even if there was no charges, knowing that happened, that you were involved in that's enough for you not to say filth, flarn, filth on a phone call to some other comedian about his material. Don't chastise. Oh, I can't get a word out without messing it up. Don't chastise someone about their material. If you're going to be handing women pills and serving them alcohol, you know what I'm saying? I understand that, they're adults and whatever, but, who are you to chastise someone about their material? You know what I'm saying? If you don't want your kid going to the show, tell him no. Tell him he's dirty. He's a dirty comedian. I don't like the way he talks in his act. He says the F word too much. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever, but don't call a guy up. That's called, you know how we say white people have white privilege? That's called celebrity privilege. You know what I mean? If you're calling up another entertainer who you don't know, never met, and only have access to their phone number because you're a celebrity and you can tell your publicist, I'd like to call Eddie Murphy. Why don't you go find out what his number is, and I'm going to call him. He might be thinking you're calling him about work. Like, I'm producing a movie I'd like you to star in or something like that. No, you're calling him to criticize his material and how he cusses too much. I'd be like, have you completely lost your mind, Mr. Cosby? Okay, I know you're a big superstar entertainer and all, but you don't call me up and tell me what's what about my material that I'm doing on stage. So anyway, I remember that was years ago. And, once I heard Bill Cosby was accused of rape, I was thinking, all the moral preaching that this guy done, what a hypocrite. Even if you're totally innocent, you're still giving women drugs and alcohol and hoping, that you're going to have sex with them. That they're going to, be more willing. Because usually people, men and women, are more willing. Their inhibitions are down when the alcohol starts to flow. You know what I'm saying? And even if, they don't pass out or anything like that, because I once had a girl tell me that a guy raped her. But she didn't know if she had said yes or not. She just woke up and this guy was on top of her. And she even told me, I did want to have sex with the guy, but I don't remember saying that it was okay. I got drunk and I told him I was going to bed. And so I went to bed. I told him, you can let yourself out. And I was sitting here listening to her say this. And I know this is off of what I was talking about, Bill Cosby. But I was sitting here listening to this chick say this and was thinking, how dumb are you? You don't get drunk with a guy you're not planning on having sex with. Even though she told me I wanted to have sex with a guy, but I wasn't planning to have sex with him. You don't get drunk with a guy you're not planning to have sex with and tell him you can let yourself out. I'm going to bed. She said, I ought to be able to do that. I said, you should. You ought to. You're right. You ought to, but you can't. You got to be realistic, in the world. You can't just say, I should be able to. She told me I should be able to fall asleep on my floor, living room floor, butt naked, and not, have anybody touch me. I said, you should be able to. I agree with you, but you can't. You can't fall, get naked and just go to sleep on the floor with a guy in your house and expect them to just leave and lock up. You can't do that. It's unrealistic. You should be able to, but you can't, so don't. That's all. But anyway, I get off on a tangent. Everything I'm talking about reminds me of something else. But anyway, I don't know if Bill Cosby's guilty or innocent, because he still says I'm innocent. I gave women pills. I handed the pills to them. They took the pills. I told them what it was, and then they drank alcohol. And then we ended up having sex, but I never raped them. The sex was consensual. Just because they don't remember it doesn't mean I raped them. That's what Bill Cosby says. Now, the reason Bill Cosby was freed is a technicality in the law. So, the prosecutor offered Bill, if you come down and talk to us and tell us your story, tell us what happened, we won't use it against you. So Bill did that. He went and he talked to the prosecutor and told him his side of the story when he was being accused of rape. And so that prosecutor who gave Bill Cosby a deal didn't work here anymore for whatever reason. He left, quit, was fired, retired, whatever it was. Then the next prosecutor that came in decided, I don't care if the previous prosecutor gave Bill Cosby a deal, I'm revoking the deal, and I'm going to take this testimony, this deposition that he sat for, and we're going to use it against him and file charges against him for rape. And that's against the law. If one prosecutor makes a deal, then that deal stands. You can't. If that's the case, then in Pennsylvania, I don't know if that's national or if that's just in Pennsylvania. This happened in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. But if that's the case, They say that Bill Cosby was in prison for 2 years. Why did it take